Hi, my name is Kate DeLaro, and I am here today to talk to you about effective communication skills. So there are several components of communication. There's verbal communication, which I'm verbally communicating to you now. There's listening skills, and you are part of this communication by listening to me at this moment. Nonverbal communication, such as body language, facial expressions, and posture. Telephone communication and written communication, such as memos and email. So who is responsible for effective communication? Managers are 100% responsible for communicating effectively with their team, and team members are 100% responsible for taking advantage of the environment for communication to express what is important and relevant. So for example, if after this, Mandy were to ask me to put the camera on the floor, I would think as an intern that I actually put the camera on the floor. But you all understand that she's referring to the production floor. So whose fault would that be in this situation? It would actually be both of our faults. Mandy didn't give me the proper instructions, or instructions with details, and I didn't ask for clarification. So we're both responsible for making sure that that communication was effective and the message was sent appropriately. So difficulties in communication can be caused by being so preoccupied that we do not listen to what the other is saying, being so sure that you know what the other person is going to say that you distort what you hear to match your expectation, evaluating and judging the speaker, which causes the speaker to be guarded and defensive, which can be a barrier at the very beginning of communication, and then not trusting the speaker and becoming suspicious of what is being said. If you know what causes any of these barriers, this is one of those things that you can concentrate on making a change for each of your communication types, and we'll go over some of these examples. So effective communication. Establish an open and trusting environment for communication. If you feel that you cannot be approached with questions, or that people are hesitant to approach you with questions, that is something that you want to rectify and make that a priority. And if you feel that you cannot approach managers or other team members with questions, then that's something you also want to make sure that you make a priority to rectify. And then demonstrate good communication techniques to the team by establishing credibility of honesty and fairness. Evaluate the situation in the current atmosphere, and be confident and assertive with your message. Verbal communication. So talk about specific rather than general situations. Oftentimes, especially if you are within a conflict, people really want to understand specifically what has happened. General can cause a lot of confusion. Use words familiar to employees and explain unfamiliar words. For example, saying the floor. Make sure that the person understands that you mean the production floor. If they are new, then you want to make sure that you explain that, because they will hear it again. Include an example to illustrate the point. Give sufficient details to convey the point and in order. And then use the 5 questions in the topic. Who is involved? What is the situation? How did it begin? When will it occur? Where is it taking place? What do you think, feel, or believe? Why will it happen? And why is it important? And then nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication, such as body movement, eye contact, face emotions, the placement of your arms, the placement of your body, that's 50% of your communication, while only 7% are the words. And then 38% is tone of voice. Is someone speaking softly? Are they yelling? Are they excited? Their modulation, and then their pauses. Are they speaking slowly? Are they speaking fast? Are they confident? You can read a lot from nonverbal communication. So if you look at the picture here, this woman has her hands on her hips. She has squinted eyes. She's not smiling. She looks very upset, maybe mean, had a bad day. And so if she were saying to you, "You did a really good job today," you most likely wouldn't believe that she was being sincere. You'd probably think that she was being sarcastic. So it's really important that you want your nonverbal communication to match the message that you are sending. So if she were to be standing there smiling, maybe using your name, putting her hands to her sides or in front of her and telling you that you did a good job, it would be much more of an effective communication. So think about your eye contact, position of your arms and legs, distance you stand from one another. It's important to be close to someone when you're having a more intimate discussion. You can be further away with someone when it's something that's not as important. Where you sit in relation to others, smiling, nodding, or other head movements, nodding and letting them know that you're listening. So that moves on to active listening skills. Again, the effective communication is not only the person that is sending the message, but the person that is receiving it as well, to make sure that they're actively listening. So listening skills are important because team members may have helpful ideas, know causes of problems, be able to warn about potential problems, or have feelings about things that may act as a tip to future problems. So we can't rely on just our own eyes and ears sometimes, and we need to make sure that we're aware of our team members as well. This is really a good part of practicing effective teamwork, which is really important in this line of work. Then types of active listening skills. There's attention listening, following skills, and responding skills, and we're going to go over each one of these. So active listening, these are actions that you take to put the talker at ease and to non-verbally show that you are listening and paying attention. So maintaining eye contact, eliminating distractions. For example, if you are sitting and working on your computer while someone is telling you a message, you're doing two things. You are distracted and most likely not receiving the whole message effectively. You're also letting the person that you may not be interested. So this is something that you want to make sure you concentrate on if someone is speaking to you. Turn your body toward them, give them eye contact, make sure that you are actively listening, and then concentrate on both the verbal and nonverbal messages being sent. And then following skills, which have two purposes: to indicate to the speaker that you understand the message and to encourage the speaker to provide a concise message. So nodding our head saying, "Aha, I see, go on, please continue." Those are great following skills. Asking appropriate questions to bring out the point, asking what time, asking the location to make sure that people can get their exact message across. And allowing silences without jumping in. Make sure that the person can finish their sentence, finish their thought, give them a little bit of time to make sure that they've completed the message that they want to send. And then responding skills. This can be the most important. Oftentimes there will be distractions that we cannot help. And at the end, if we can practice these responding skills, this will help with effective communication. So this is where we determine if we received and interpreted the message as the speaker intended it. So it's clarifying the message. For example, after a discussion, the listener says, "If I understand you correctly, you are saying that you want me to put the bag on the production floor near the office on the shelf that's marked camera bags." That would allow someone to correct you if you didn't hear the message correctly. And so at the end of clarifying this, you can both go off in separate paths, understanding that you both completely understood the message. So this will check out the facts, ideas, and the main point of what the speaker said. So conflict resolution, we all have conflicts, and it's very important that we make sure that we handle conflicts effectively and maturely. And so I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that. So 8 tips to conflict management. You really want to hear someone. To hear someone, you really need to listen. You need to listen to their words. You need to listen to their verbal communication. There are also times where it's appropriate to separate the nonverbal communication with the words. If someone is very emotional about something, you want to make sure that you're understanding to what the situation is and not just the emotion. List examples and details before discussion. If you are going to confront someone, make sure that you know what you want to say, what you want to address before you come to them, so that emotion doesn't get in the way. Talk with someone on neutral ground, maybe stepping away from others. Maybe it's going to a coffee shop, it's stepping out of work. If you are a manager, sometimes you want to call them into your office, and it's important that you're on your ground, in your territory. And then start with positives. You're doing a great job at some of the things that you can work on, and then give your points. And then discuss their action or approach of issue. Instead of beating around the bush, you want to make sure you're very clear about what the conflict is and how each person has contributed. Validate their feelings. I know you may feel that you did a great job with this, or you feel that maybe you're attacked, or whatever their struggle is, make sure you validate that, and then you can clarify it. Another important practice here is that when you are within a conflict, that instead of saying you did this, you did that, you can say I feel. So that way you're taking responsibility for at least half of the conflict. So if I were saying to Mandy, you didn't give me correct directions, you didn't clarify it where you wanted me to put this, it would be more appropriate, and it would be easier so she isn't on the feeling defensive, that I say, I feel that you didn't give me correct directions. I feel that we're not communicating well, and then she is not immediately on the defensive. And that gives her an opportunity to clarify. Provide resources. If someone has this issue again, make sure that they have somewhere to go, whether it's a handbook, a person, and they understand what maybe the chain of command is. And then conclude on a positive note. Again, you can reiterate what they're doing well or how they handled the situation. So next we'll go over email and phone etiquette. So with phone, always greet with your name and who is speaking, and naming the site where you're at. It's important to avoid sarcasm and humor that accompanies facial expressions and body language, because the person on the other end of the line can't see that, and you can offend someone also, and you won't know because you won't see their body language and their facial expressions responding to it. And then acknowledge the reason for calling, and remember to say goodbye. Oftentimes people just hang up, and that ends a communication where the other person again may be offended, or they may not feel like they got their entire message across. So a good way to end a phone discussion is to reiterate why they called, let them know what the follow-up will be. If you have any further questions, please feel free to call me. And then email etiquette. Write emails clear and concise. You don't want to write emails as if you were speaking or thinking through something. Include all details and in order, and use bullet points when possible. I'm going to give you an example of that. Break up paragraphs into topics and subjects, and include a relevant heading. So an example is an email that I wrote to Jennifer McNeil, and in the subject it was today's assignments. To be even more effective, I probably could have written that date. And this is also important because if she were to be looking for this email in the future, and then she can search by the topic, so you can even be much more specific than that. So I wrote, hello Jennifer, thank you for taking the time to speak with me and help me prioritize my assignments. I started on a positive note by thanking her. Below I have listed my current assignments in progress. Please let me know if you have any questions. So I established a very open communication style, and then I bulleted out my 2 projects. The vertical bagger, and then the smart snacks in schools. So she knows exactly what I'm referring to. I gave a brief description of each of those, and then I thanked her and signed my name. It's also very effective if you have a sign-off greeting that you want to add in and kind of customize as your own. As a wellness professional, I often put healthy regards. If I'm writing to my family, I'll put warm regards, oftentimes best regards. So there might be something that you want to put in there to sign off in a friendly manner. And that is all today. If you have any questions about communication, or if you have any concerns, going to your manager would be a great place to start. If you do want a copy of this presentation in a PowerPoint form, you can reach out to Mandy Eberhardt, and she can get that to you and or your manager. So thank you so much for your time.